sorry for such a long time from recording videos. I haven't been able to record any thing I thought would be interesting, at least for long form. As you've probably seen, I did a couple short form videos. And I kept forgetting to record when I was building stuff and whatnot, because I did mean to do that and I wanted to show off a couple other builds, but there will be other showcases and whatnot. Specifically a schooner I did the other day. It will probably be what's shown next, but today we are here at a temporary setup in person for once, doing seeing if the Canon Rebel XT is still a decent camera for a beginner. So this right here is a Canon Rebel XT. It is from 2005. It is a 8 megapixel CMOS sensor camera. It is an APS-C sensor camera, so smaller than full frame. So like, for example, this right here, that is full frame technically in terms of like sensor size, but that is a film camera. But today is this, and it takes CF cards, CF type 1 and 2. I have an 8 megapixel third party right here that I've been using, or this is 8 gigabyte I meant. Yep. The batteries you can still get, and you can get third party ones as well by brands like Wasabi. Here's a Wasabi Power one, and you can get it for like 20 bucks. But this camera, I get it for 35 bucks without a lens or any accessories. But it had a body cap, so yeah. But here's the mirror and the sensor. And then over here I have a nifty 50 EF lens for testing it. But if you can't see, it is a 7-point autofocus system. Another camera I could compare it to is this Canon T7, which is another Rebel beginner camera. This one, instead of taking CF cards, takes SD cards and the newer, which is still made, LPEE10 battery. Cameras like the R8 use it. There are a lot of the DSLRs, and I'm putting it in backwards. This one takes SD cards, but this one notably has live view, where this doesn't. And this is a 24 megapixel sensor. Don't question these. These were because I had a 1970s era strap on it. So this is very similar to that, as they both are set. Well, that's a 9-point autofocus system. This is 7. But as a beginner, you can still get good shots with it. As the sensor is CMOS instead of a CCD, so it doesn't have that like more retro 2000s or 90s era vibe of the photos. And looks more new. So, for example, the camera I'm using today, a Canon 90D, that is a CMOS sensor as well. This one, it still does take quite good pictures. It is lacking multiple features a lot of people would say are very useful to have, but not necessary. Like this, as I said, it lacks live view, which means you can't look through the screen for the videos. You have to go through the viewfinder always, which, as this is a DSLR, it is not an electronic viewfinder like a mirrorless. It is using a pentaprism, and it also lacks what was it called? It lacks a lot of modern features as well, like no flipping screen like the 90D, or like more modern cameras like the R8, the R7, other stuff like that. But it still takes quite good photos. I'll show some probably now. But yeah, it takes pretty decent photos still. And obviously, because it's from 2005, it doesn't take video. It's also lacking in its ISO, as it only goes up to about 1600 or so. so it's very bad with lower light. It also only goes up to about 1 4,000th of a second for shutter speed, whereas if I recall right, the 90D is around more than 1/8,000th. I could be wrong. I don't remember it off the top of my head for that one, but yeah, it is a fairly competent beginner camera, and if you are just looking for something to learn on, it is perfectly usable. It's just it'll be lacking for its autofocus, its ISO for low light and whatnot, but it is still a very usable camera today in 2026. It just lacks a couple features. Like this won't be good if you're trying to do video, as it has no video features. And it is a very bare bones camera by today's standards, but it has a hot shoe. Uses a fairly accessible battery, and you can get them for like $30. You can get cheap, and the EF system is probably one of the best systems to get into, as they are plentiful. They are not super expensive like an RF lens or a Sony E mount is not super expensive, but it would be slightly more expensive. And then you can get adapters theoretically to use Sony AF, the Sony A mount or the Minolta A mount. Well, and I found one recently for Minolta MD mount, which I thought was pretty neat, and one for, this has a third-party lens on it, but this is a AE1. I found an adapter so you could use Canon FD lenses on EF bodies, so you could get into a very good class. Which the EF lens system, if you have good lenses, are still quite good. And because it's an APS-C sensor camera, it also has a crop factor of about, I want to say 1.7, or no, 1.6 I want to say. So this is more equivalent. This is a full frame of 50 mil, so it's about a 70 mil. I could be wrong. I'll correct it at some point. I'll try to say what it is. But yeah, I would still say if you are just starting out photography and you're wanting something cheap, a cheap digital camera that will work, I highly recommend getting into one of these. They work quite well for what they are. But that's it for today. If you would like me to do any other cameras, like for example on this desk, this thing I'm using, there is a Minolta Maxim 3000 and a Sonar Polaroid, a Minolta X370 as well. I have other ones too, but if you would like to comment a specific camera for me to try to do, I will try to do it. It's probably not going to be super easy for me to do mirrorless, as I don't own any at the moment, or medium format or large format, but I have a lot of stuff like this, more or less. But anyways, that's all for today. Hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe if you did. This is Dutchman signing off.